joining us today as the committee meets to consider H.R. 3193, the Consumer Financial Safety and Soundness Improvement Act of 2013. This legislation takes important steps to inject much-needed transparency, accountability, and certainty into the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB. Established in 2010 under the Dodd-Frank Act, the CFPB is tasked with regulating our nation's financial markets. Unfortunately, it has virtually zero congressional oversight, limited judicial review, and the authority to unilaterally impact domestic markets and job creators with onerous and unnecessary rules and regulations when it deems appropriate. The American people, I believe, deserve an agency that specifically is designed to be immune from the checks and balances which define our nation's government. I believe that Congress must have an equal part and a say not only in what this agency does, but what the rules and regulations that the Bureau puts out. Today's legislation replaces the CFPB with a new commission designed to increase transparency, accountability, and fairness while continuing to ensure that all Americans are protected from financial fraud and abuse. Additionally, I think it's important that this legislation takes meaningful steps to protect Americans' private, personal data by ensuring that newly established commission cannot obtain or use nonprofit information without expressed written consent. I want to thank the young chairman from Dallas, Texas, Chairman Jeb Hensley, of the Financial Services Committee for his work to establish improved accountability in our nation's financial regulators, and obviously I look forward to his testimony. I know that we're also joined by the ranking member from Los Angeles, California, my dear friend, Mrs. Waters, and thank you very much for being here. I'd like to yield at this time to the gentleman from Massachusetts for any statement he may choose to make. Gentleman's right.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome our two witnesses, and I would just simply say that, again, with all due respect, that we're dealing with a one-house bill here, and there are millions of people who have lost their unemployment insurance because we haven't chosen to extend it. We need to raise the minimum wage so that people can earn a livable wage in this country. We're all talking about the importance of work, but if you're still in poverty when you work, there's a problem. We need to do immigration reform, and we need to fix the debt ceiling. And so I think those are the things we should be doing right now. And again, I appreciate the witnesses here, and I appreciate your giving me this time, but I think our time we better spent on other matters. So with that, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman for his comments, and would also note that the gentleman to his immediate right looks rather dapper today. New attire here. You look very nice. Let the record reflect that, but your presence is very nice today. Very, very nice. Yeah. I want to welcome both of our very dear guests as they represent the Financial Services Committee, both Republicans and Democrats. Of course, everyone knows, each of you knows without objection, anything you have in writing will be entered into the record. And I would like to yield now to the young chairman from Dallas, Texas. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Sessions, and members of the Rules Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on legislation to bring a modicum of transparency and accountability to what may be the single most powerful and unaccountable agency in all of Washington. The Dodd-Frank Act created an agency known as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, and although the agency has a most important mission, not only can it protect consumers, but it can harm them as well. It has incredible powers to ultimately ration, restrict, and deny American consumers their ability to choose the financial products, be they mortgages or credit cards, that are right for them and their families. It is an agency that then, because of these incredible powers, must be held accountable to the American people. Mr. Chairman, let me highlight just a few ways in which the CFPB has been opaque and is uniquely unaccountable to the American people. First, it is housed within the Federal Reserve System so that it is not, I repeat, not subject to congressional authorization or appropriation. When the CFPB wants more money, all it needs to do is essentially requisition it from the Fed. No questions asked. It is as simple as that. No need to bother justifying its cost to the hard-working American taxpayers who ultimately foot the bill for the agency. No need to explain its lavish $145 million building renovation that was subject of a recent hearing in the Financial Services Committee. Mr. Chairman, this agency is spending roughly the same amount of money as the building that they are housed in is worth, and they do not even own the building. Roughly triple the renovation rate of luxury office space in the District of Columbia. Next, Mr. Chairman, unlike almost every other financial regulator, the CFPB is headed by a single director to whom all legal authority and policy-making discretion resides. So not only is the CFPB uniquely unaccountable to Congress, in some respects it is also uniquely unaccountable to itself because there is not a commission, there is only a single director. No board of regulators with different viewpoints or areas of expertise, but a single unelected, unaccountable director. Next, Mr. Chairman, the agency is uniquely unaccountable to the courts. And to the executive branch through the Interagency Council established by the Dodd-Frank Act. For example, the CFPB's qualified mortgage rule, which establishes strict underwriting standards for residential mortgages, has now been estimated to cut off access to home ownership for 1/3 of the Black and Hispanic borrowers who have previously been able to qualify for a loan. And yet the CFPB's decision has to be given credibility and deference by our courts. There are many more examples of unaccountability at the CFPB, but what makes the CFPB's unfettered authority most dangerous is that it is currently engaged in a massive data collection effort, obtaining personal financial data on millions of Americans without their knowledge or consent. To date, the CFPB has collected information on over 900 million credit card accounts. Now, the Financial Services Committee, Mr. Chairman, could have sent a bill to simply repeal the CFPB's authorizing statute and substitute a consumer protection regime based on robust disclosures, swift and sure justice for those who prey upon consumers and give individuals their freedom of choice. Frankly, this might have been a preferable idea, but this is not what we did. Instead, we elected to send simple CFPB reform legislation, which consists of incremental and common sense changes that will make CFPB more accountable and more transparent to the American people. The bill before you would replace the CFPB's single director with an independent commission governance structure. This is an idea that congressional Democrats were for before they decided they were against it. The bill would subject the CFPB's employees to the GS pay scale and would rationalize the standard by which CFPB regulations can be reviewed by Dodd-Frank's Financial Stability Oversight Council. And it would prohibit the CFPB from collecting non-public personal financial information on consumers without their express consent. These reforms are modest compared to the vast power currently held by, again, one of Washington's most powerful and least accountable regulators. This bill would promote good government. It would help rein in the wasteful spending by many Washington bureaucrats, and it would help promote greater financial opportunities for Americans and prevent the CFPB from continuing its NSA-style data collection efforts. I would hope they would not prove to be controversial. With that, Mr. Chairman, I welcome the committee's questions and yield back.
I thank the chairman very much. The gentlewoman from Los Angeles is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and let me say that I also appreciate that you have always been extremely fair and that you have always afforded me the opportunity to present my view on my case whenever you could, whether it's here in committee or on the floor. Of course, I'm here today to oppose what has been attempted basically to dismantle the CFPB. As a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman and members, I am extremely surprised that this kind of approach that we have witnessed, both in committee where all of these bills have been taken up and the way that they've been consolidated here today, all in an effort to dismantle the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. As a matter of fact, I believe that in all of Dodd-Frank reform, that this is really the centerpiece. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that has been created to give our consumers some protection. Basically, that's it. We have gone through a subprime meltdown in this country that put us into an economic crisis. And when we began to look closely at the regulators, we discovered that nobody was looking out for the consumers. Basically, they say that their mission was safety and soundness, but we could not get a lot about what had been done on behalf of consumers. And so this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was created with that in mind, and it's a good thing. I don't know why any member that's elected by their constituents would be opposed to giving them some protection from the kind of ripoffs and the kind of abuses that we have witnessed, all of us as elected officials. We can go down all of these 5 bills that have been consolidated here and talk about why it's so important not to eliminate or try to eliminate the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau with this bill. First of all, let's take a look at 3519, the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection, Accountability, and Transparency Act of 2013. This bill would subject the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to the appropriations process. Why? This would be a unique requirement for the CFPB and deprive it of its independence as a bank regulator. Other bank regulators, including the Federal Reserve, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, are generally not subject to appropriations process. Unlike other banking regulators that can charge assessments in order to increase their budgets, the CFPB has a budget cap already. The CFPB is also required to testify to Congress on its budget twice annually, making it one of the most accountable and transparent agencies in the government. This change would profoundly weaken the CFPB, politicizing what should be an independent financial regulator and making it significantly more challenging for it to fulfill its mission of protecting consumers, including service members, students, seniors, and the financial system at large. Let's take a look at the so-called Pay Fairness Act. This bill would tie compensation for employees of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to the general schedule for federal employees and eliminates the Dodd-Frank requirement for the Bureau to provide employees with benefits and compensation that are comparable to the corresponding class of Federal Reserve. Why single out this agency and make it different? All the other financial regulators, including the Farm Credit Administration, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Federal Reserve, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, Securities and Exchange Commission, National Credit Union Administration, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency are all able to offer more competitive compensation packages than those provided under the general schedule. Let's take a look at H.R. 2446, that's a part of this bill, Responsible Consumer Financial Protection Regulations Act of 2013. It replaces Director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau with a 5-member commission. Well, let's just talk about how this director has been treated. And even though my chairman and I work very well on a number of things, I disagree with the way that he treated Mr. Cordray. Mr. Cordray was an interim appointment. You may not like that, but he was appointed. And my chairman would not allow him to even come before the committee and testify until after confirmation. And so this whole idea of trying to weaken now the director with having them replaced with a 5-member commission is just another attempt to destroy the ability of the director to do his job. Let's take a look at the Consumer Right to Financial Privacy Act of 2013. The chairman would have you believe that somehow that the Bureau is collecting data in a way that could be used against the consumer. Not true. This bill would prevent the CFPB from accessing, collecting, using, retaining, or disclosing non-public information without each individual consumer's written consents. And of course, this is an attack on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's data-driven approach to regulating consumer financial products. First and foremost, the CFPB is already prohibited from collecting personally identifiable information in the course of its market monitoring responsibilities. Although the Bureau does collect certain information as part of its responsibility to identify and monitor market trends and proactively address emerging consumer credit issues, this information is deliberately depersonalized and aggregated to ensure consumer-sensitive information is protected. Further, let's look at the other bill, H.R. 3193, that's a part of this consolidated effort. This bill would lower the bar for overturning CFPB rules in 2 ways: decreasing the number of votes required by the FSOC and increasing the number of reasons a rule can be overturned. So basically, they're under the auspices of FSOC, and they can overturn anything that CFPB does with a 2/3 vote. And now what this bill would do is say, no, let's make it a majority vote so that they can tie up the hands of the director and keep them from being effective. And so, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your leniency with the time that you're affording me. This consolidated bill that attacks the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a concerted effort to destroy it. This is a concerted effort to say that consumers of this country do not need protection. We have gone through the subprime meltdown with robo-signing that we all know about, with all of the teaser loans and the exotic products that were placed before people that did not know what the heck they were signing. Come on, we need to be at least responsible enough to say to our consumers, something has gone wrong here, and we're prepared to step up and do what is necessary to give you some protection. And that includes our veterans who have been ripped off with payday loans, the bill collectors, the payday loans, student loans, all of these things in our government oversight and the responsibility that we have are things that need to be dealt with, protection that needs to be given to our consumers. And there's no way that we should be passing a comprehensive bill that would undermine the efforts of the Consumer Protection, Financial Protection Bureau that is in law and part of the Dodd-Frank reforms. I thank you, and I am prepared for any questions you may have.
Ms. Waters, thank you very much, as always, and you alluded to it up front. I'm delighted that you're here. We believe not only in an open process, but you be given the time that you need to explain yourself, and I'm delighted, and you will always be welcome in this committee. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I've listened to your testimony, and I've looked at the bill. It's not deregulation, it's just appropriate regulation that you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to do away with things, or are you trying to balance them, or how would you characterize overall all these packages?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I think any review of our current agency structure, it would be difficult. It would be very difficult to find an agency that has more power and less accountability than this particular bureau. It was designed with a congressional oversight bypass. and that is not what the American people expect us to do. And so the whole idea of consumer protection is a vital one, but consumers have to be protected not just against Wall Street, but they have to be protected against Washington as well. I alluded to just one rule of the CFPB, the Qualified Mortgage Rule. We have had testimony in our committee, including that of economist Mark Zandi, who has said that that rule itself could absolutely double the cost of a mortgage. CoreLogic, which collects data in our mortgage finance system, said it could cut the number of mortgages in half. Okay, who is going to protect consumers from the CFPB if it is not the United States Congress? And so, Mr. Chairman, what I would say is these are very common sense reforms. Now, as my ranking member has pointed out, there are some agencies that have some aspects in common with the CFPB, but I'm not sure there is one agency that, number one, has a sole commissioner, number two, is not accountable through the appropriations process, number three, whose decisions are given deference by the courts under the Chevron doctrine, and whose director can only be removed by the president for cause. In its totality, Mr. Chairman, again, given its power to wreak havoc, to abuse the rights of consumers, given that it is uniquely unaccountable, these are very common sense reforms to bring this in under a commission structure so that the president would make appointments. There would be both Republicans and Democrats. We want to assure that we do not repeat the mistakes of the past, and so not just the safety and soundness of the entire financial systems, but of our financial institutions be considered. We're losing community banks on a day-by-day basis in America. And if you speak to any community banker, Mr. Chairman, I can tell you one of the things that's keeping them up at night is this CFPB. So I believe these are modest, common sense accountability measures that the American people demand of us.
Chairman Hensley, Ms. Waters referred to the pay schedule for employees and at least suggested an argument about why they should not be bound by the general what I would call generally accepted pay scales. Do you have any defense of that? Because I know you have a bill that's part of this entire package that would address that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, according to the latest data, the average CFPB employee will make $178,521 in salary and benefits for this fiscal year. That is a staggering amount. That is the average employee. And I got to tell you, Mr. Chairman, as you look within this particular budget, you will see a number of individuals who are compensated more highly than cabinet officials and the Vice President of the United States. This is an agency that really has incredible abilities to set their own pay scale. Now, by statute, it is to be comparable to the Federal Reserve, but at last analysis, they're actually roughly $20,000, $25,000 per employee above that of the Federal Reserve. And I would say, Mr. Chairman, that in many respects, this is an agency that is more in the nature of a product regulator, regulating financial products. And so their pay scale really ought to be looked upon more in tune with the Commodities Futures Trading Commission or the Federal Trade Commission. More so than the banking regulators. And in fact, Mr. Chairman, at the last analysis, they've got at least one intern making $51,000. Now, my guess is any member of Congress who paid an intern $51,000 would find themselves out of a job at the next election. But this is, again, a uniquely unaccountable agency. That's not accountable to the hardworking taxpayers who are having to pay the intern $51,000 and pay their average employee $178,000. They've got 741 employees receiving six-figure salaries. Again, 56 officers earning more than cabinet secretaries. 209 employees making more than our 50 U.S. governors, and the list goes on. You know, for the American people who I hope are watching these proceedings now, I don't think that passes the smell test. I don't think it passes the fiscal responsibility test. And I think the American people are demanding some accountability with the salary structures of the CFPB.
Well, you've certainly explained to me why that was included as part of the bills, and I appreciate that very much. I yield to the gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was with some of my community bankers earlier today, and we were talking about some of these same issues. And I fear that banking is going to become a checklist item. I want a community banker. To your points about consumer protection, Ms. Waters, I mean, I want a bank in serving my community that's invested in my community, that believes in my community, and I don't want them working down a federal checklist. I want them looking into people's hearts and people's circumstances and dadgummit, taking a gamble from time to time. That's what investors do. They take a gamble. I want folks to be able to not gamble on Wall Street. I want to be able to gamble on Main Street, gamble on my constituents that we might succeed. And that's not what I hear folks saying the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is helping folks to do. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, as you know, I wasn't here when CFPB came to life, and I've not found much to get enthusiastic about, but I wanted to go through a couple of the things that you have educated me on while you have shared your testimony today. That to move the CFPB into the appropriations process would be unique among bank regulators. Is that because, and again, I don't have any financial knowledge background, is that because all of the other regulators are being funded out of the Federal Reserve like the CFPB is?
Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Federal Reserve, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Credit Union Administration, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, are all able to offer, again, as I have testified, more competitive compensation packages than those provided under the general schedule. Each of these are different.
I want to get to the salaries, but I was actually talking about your first point, which was the funding stream for how these agencies.
The appropriations.
I thought what I understood you to say was that the appropriations process is not used to fund banking regulators, that they have an independent funding stream, and that it would be a change of a large magnitude if we were to bring the CFPB into the appropriations process.
That's right.
And knowing nothing about those regulators, is that because all of those agencies that you just mentioned are all funded out of the Federal Reserve's?
The OCC and the FDIC are funded through assessments.
Assessments, okay.
Yes.
And folks. Well, I know you were mentioning those other agencies for a different purpose. Is it not then equally groundbreaking that we have placed a agency within a funding stream of the Federal Reserve? I mean, your point about appropriations is well taken, but as much credibility as that has, wouldn't the statement that what is also groundbreaking is that we've created this agency within the Federal Reserve with a dedicated Federal Reserve funding stream, isn't that equally troubling?
No, what is troubling is this wholesale attack on the Consumer Financial Bureau. If you take everything that is being attempted here, what you find is an attack that would destroy the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And so what I'm saying is, in trying to take a look at all of the bills that have been introduced and passed in our committee, is the combination of all of them destroys would destroy the ability for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to operate.
I was with an Asian American group this morning for breakfast, and we were talking about immigration. I said, it's just gotten so hard to talk about immigration. You end up arguing about immigration instead of having a conversation. I have no doubt on your committee that could well be true, that you see a concerted effort to destroy CFPB. Candidly, again, I have not found any value for my folks. I would have guessed there were other avenues to serve them. But irrespective of that concerted effort, don't some of these individual ideas have merit? Again, you were saying you didn't think that we should put these employees on the same salary scale that most other federal employees are on, and you listed a long list of folks that had a special salary deal. The chairman points out $178,000 as an average salary in the CFPP.
But excuse me if I may, yes.
Benefits package in the CFPP. My question would be, all of those agencies that you listed as being comparable to the CFPP, do they also have about $178,000 benefit average? Do you know?
Well, let me just say this. I think the chairman uses $178,000 kind of loosely. He did in one point say including the benefits. And so I'm not so sure how big the benefit package is for all employees in general, but I would say that it is comparable. And when the chairman refers to intern...
Comparable to the Federal Reserve as the statute requires, or comparable to the Farm Credit Administration?
Comparable to the other regulators who have the opportunity to determine the salary of the employees.
Okay. Okay.
And let me just say, I think he uses the term intern a little bit loosely. As I understand it, there are folks who work in the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, some with master's degrees, who are there to learn more about how that bureau works and to be prepared to go to work for that bureau. But these are not high school students. These are not interns in the traditional definition of intern.
Thinking about how difficult these issues are to talk about, you said, Ms. Waters, in your testimony that this bill is the equivalent of saying that consumers don't need protection. This concerted attack. I have not known Mr. Henserling as long as you have known Mr. Henserling, but you don't have to know Mr. Henserling for long to get an idea of his deep concern and compassion for people. You know the folks who are here. I like to believe that everybody's here for all the right reasons, but I know with certainty that Chairman Henserling's here for all the right reasons. Are we at that place in this discussion? I mean, is the only way that I can protect 700,000 consumers in my district is if we continue to fund the CFPP and have it grow and grow? Are there no other options? Is it not legitimate to talk about other options to get that job done?
Mr. Woodall,
Yes, ma'am.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Now, when you talk about your consumers, tell me that you have consumers who have not complained about bill collectors and the way that they have harassed them and the way that they have called them after 9 o'clock at night and the way that they have tried to interfere with their jobs and call their family members. Tell me you don't have veterans who have said, I lost all of my pay to payday lenders. I didn't have enough money that's paid to me in this system, and I needed some money before the next payday. I didn't know that I was going to be paying 400 or 500%. Tell me you don't have consumers that are complaining about the foreclosure that they experience and say to you, I had no idea what I was signing. I didn't know anything about an exotic product. I didn't know that the information that I gave about where I'm employed didn't count with these people who brought me this mortgage. Tell me you don't have consumer. And when I say tell me, all I simply mean is, yes, we all have good intentions, but we all have consumers who have complained to us by so many things. And guess what? We've not been able to help them because the system did not have anything in it to look out for them. And that's why the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and Mr. Woodall, no matter how much We would like to. And no matter how good we think we are, the fact of the matter is too many of our consumers are ripped off, taken advantage of, undermined, not cared for, and all of us would like to do a better job. That's what this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does. There's nothing wrong with it. It does no harm to anybody. Why not have it?
Well, I think whether or not it does harm to folks would absolutely be a point that folks would want to discuss. As I look around and I see the free checking going away for consumers across my district, I got to tell you, if you have any consumer in your district who is enthusiastic that their free checking has gone away because now they feel like they're getting a better deal from the bank, I want you to give me that information, because my consumers are saying, I was perfectly happy with the free checking account I had. In fact, I needed that free checking account. I just needed to be banked in some way. And in the name of helping me, you folks have now created incentives such that my bank is canceling their free checking account. Now, again, much like so many of the issues we discuss here, I don't think folks intended to harm consumers when they crafted this, but tells me something about where this discussion has come if we can't even agree that perhaps some bad things have happened at the hands of the Consumer Protection Board. I think as a new member of Congress, one of the things that's most troubling to me is that they are so far outside of my control. Candidly, I appreciate the chairman. If I did not read that story, Mr. Chairman, but if as it had been described, if you did not seat Director Cordray, as I read those court cases, the courts had some concerns about the way that, as you called it, interim appointment. I think what they called it was an inappropriate appointment. But it is clear to me that we have responsibilities to those folks back home. And what I read in that court case, of course, it was over the NLRB that happened on the same day, not Mr. Cordray. But the court said, if I can paraphrase them, shame on Congress. Not shame on the president, shame on Congress. Because what President Obama did in these appointments, obviously inappropriate and not allowed by the Constitution. But what President Bush did, and what President Clinton did, and what President Bush before him did, and what President Reagan before him did, all of those things were inappropriate. Why? Because the Constitution vested in Congress this oversight, responsibility, and power, and Congress gave it away to Pennsylvania Avenue. We might disagree about whether or not our consumers are better served by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or by us individually, but I would hope that we would always agree that our constituents are better served when the burden of responsibility falls on us here in the People's House, us here on Capitol Hill, and we are making those decisions. It is clear to me that the people's power doesn't leave Washington, leave Capitol Hill overnight. It leaves little by little by little by little, and they wake up one morning and it's gone. I would hope that our experiences, good men and women here serving in Congress, that we would be comfortable bringing the responsibility for these agencies back into your committee, not into any committee I'm on. I have no self-serving goals here, but into your committee, because I'm just certain. I just couldn't be more certain of it. If I spent the next decade thinking about it, I'm just certain that the 700,000 people in my district are better served with you and Chairman Hensarling at the helm than they are with folks that they have never met, that they've never had a chance to vote on, folks who are serving in an unaccountable bureaucracy under the protection of the Federal Reserve, and knowing that is how much confidence I have in what you all do. Again, a committee I will likely never serve on. As we look for those things that we can agree on, I would hope that would be one. Candidly, Mr. Chairman, I learned more from Ms. Waters because I've heard you talk about this more often. I hadn't heard Ms. Waters talk about it, so my questions were there. Did anything that...
I wasn't offended that you chose to ask her the questions.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Massachusetts recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, this is all an interesting discussion, but quite frankly, this is not going anywhere. And if this were a serious effort, this wouldn't be a product that received a purely partisan vote in the Financial Services Committee. And so I'm going to do you all a favor. I'm going to ask no questions so you can all get to your conference that started at 5:30 so we can figure out a way to get this debt ceiling issue dealt with and do something that is meaningful. The fact of the matter is we have a lot of big challenges before this country, and I get where my colleagues are coming from on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that you don't like it. It's been very clear. I think there's been a concerted effort to undermine it for some time right now. I would just simply suggest that, you know, the stuff that we're doing right here could be better dealt with in a press conference. It is cheaper to the taxpayers. But this bill, we all know, is not going anywhere in the Senate, and we do have an emergency looming, and that is this issue of the debt ceiling. And so I will not ask any questions, and I will yield back on my time so you can get to your meeting and we get back to Rules Committee and figure out what we're doing. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Orlando, Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question of Mr. Henserling. I was intrigued by the 900 million credit card metadata confiscation by this board. And I was wondering if you know a little more of the details, because you had used the term NSA style in this particular issue, and I'm wondering if it might even be more than that. Do you know anything about the data that's being gathered?
The Bureau collects data right now in 3 different buckets. One through its supervision and examination process, second through its consumer complaint portal. It is expected to collect data that has personal identifiable consumer information with respect to those. It's the third that's more problematic, and that is its market monitoring function. And right now that consists of 4 separate databases. Number 1 is the National Mortgage Database that the Bureau and the FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, are building, containing full credit report data on 53 million borrowers who took out mortgages since 1998. The project manager has said that this is easily reverse engineered for 95% of those who appear in the database.
So I'm sure they have to go before a FISA-style court in order to get that data, right?
Not to the best of my knowledge. According to the National Mortgage Database project manager, every federal employee is allowed to have access to the database, as well as academics and others.
And then am I correct that this, not different than NSA, does it ever have to go through a reauthorization?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
And different from the NSA, which we are able to amend through even the appropriation process and restrict their abilities, it doesn't go through the appropriation process.
That is correct.
So this is far more than the NSA, far more than their metadata, which only collects phone numbers but not names, far more because they have no reauthorization, far more because there is no appropriation restrictions placed on it. This is more than just NSA style. This is more Gestapo style collection of data on individual citizens who have no clue that this is happening.
Well, if I could, I would think with the recent revelations about the activities of the NSA, certainly we are all aware of what happened at the IRS as they abused taxpayers for political purposes, that rightfully the American people are concerned. Now, to the extent, I'm not here to ascribe malevolent intent to the CFPB. Everything I know about the director, Richard Cordray, he enjoys a good reputation, but the bottom line is that they are collecting an incredible amount of data, and for their market monitoring function, if one wished to engage in random sampling, the science of random sampling. We have had evidence presented to our committee that they could collect an infinitesimally small amount of data and come up with approximately the same conclusions from the data. We all know about this science of the statistics of random sampling, but for whatever reason, the Bureau insists upon collecting the full credit report data on 53 million American borrowers. We've got a credit card database that will include 991 million credit cards, information on 991 million credit cards held by approximately 136 million Americans, roughly 60% of the entire adult U.S. population. Loan level database is another database that they are collecting. It will require data on 25 million active loans. Initially was required to collect data on 25 million active loans, later amended the contract to gain access to as many as 227 million loans. And I would just submit this is an incredibly dangerous precedent for an agency that, again, is totally unaccountable to the American people. And I thank the gentleman for asking about it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that the NSA has been criticized because people assume that the data that's being collected is going to be used. And I would extrapolate that to this particular board and say the exact same thing. There is no reason to collect the data if you don't plan on using it. So the fear among the general populace over the NSA is the fact it might be misused. And I would say the same fear applies here. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Colorado is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also will be brief. I understand there is a conference of the majority party. I hope that in addition to discussing the debt ceiling, that you, Mr. Chair, and my other colleagues bring up how we can move forward on immigration reform. I was once again saddened that the bill before us this week is not a bill that does anything about the fact that hundreds of people are coming across our border illegally every day, that millions of people go to work every day illegally in this country, that families are being torn apart and taxpayers are being given the bill. And I'm hopeful that that can be part of the discussion at the upcoming Republican conference as well. With regard to this bill, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is just getting off the ground. I think that there would be interest in a bipartisan way on both sides of the aisle after it gets its sea legs, figuring out how we can improve it and make it work better. I think it's premature to take these major reconfiguration of the Bureau, but I think that when the time is right, certainly in another year or two, I hope that the majority can engage with Democrats about how we can make CFPB work better for the American people. And I certainly look forward to helping however I can in that discussion. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. I want to thank both of you for being here today. I see no further questions from the committee, but
Mr. Chairman, can I make a brief comment?
Gentlewoman, Vice Chairman of the committee from North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank our colleague, Mr. Webster, and our colleague, Mr. Woodall, for bringing up the issues that they brought up, because I think they're very important, and I don't think the general public has had a clear understanding of the real dangers of this organization. I think we've done our best to present them to the public, but frankly, the press has not given them much attention, and so I appreciate very much the chairman of the committee and also our colleagues for raising the issues that they've raised today. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. The discussion that we've had today, in fact, I believe, as has been alluded to, is enlightening, whether we're talking about consumers and their protections, or whether we're talking about those that lend money. All these issues combined, I believe, point to a reason why I am not for big government. I believe big government is expensive. It's hard to fight City Hall. And as I became acquainted with this not only testimony today, but as I began working through my own mind about what model I might be for, because in fact what happened is it's a model that's being suggested, and perhaps the gentleman has an opinion that may be same or similar by looking at the legislation, is the Fed board. And I look at Richard Fisher, who is the Fed president for the Dallas Fed, who has perhaps an opinion that he is able to speak about in front of all the Federal Reserve presidents and then to the Fed chairman. And I believe it has enabled a marketplace then to understand and see more dynamic ideas as they take place across the country, whether it be from Atlanta, New York, Denver, San Francisco, Dallas. And so I, in fact, subscribe more to the idea of a board, small, workable, than I do one person. And so I very much, just listening, and we all can have our own philosophy. But I do not view that you're trying to dismantle. I think you're trying to make better, is what I would say. I gave the gentleman a shot at it, and I think he agreed with that. So I would hope that what's happening today is that this Financial Services Committee looked at what the effects of one person without oversight of the United States Congress or judicial oversight, one person having virtually unlimited power with a large, unaccountable staff who is paid above market rates in this town. I do not support big government, and I think today's a chance to see firsthand how big government becomes expensive government, but what it becomes is overbearing because they can make all the decisions without even congressional oversight. I want to thank each of you for being here today, and as always, if you'll leave whatever you provided in writing, we will use that. You're both excused. Thank you very much. The committee has now heard testimony. I do not see anyone else that seeks time to do so. The hearing portion of H.R. 3193 is now closed. As has been alluded to a few times, the Republican conference is meeting at this time on the debt limit decision. The gentleman from Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm just reading political breaking news. House Republicans will vote Wednesday on legislation to raise the debt limit and reverse recent changes to military retirement benefits.
Well, thank you for making the announcement.
If that's the announcement, then can we just...
Mr. Chair, will the gentleman yield? I apologize that our committee prevented our Republican colleagues from adding their input to that decision that's been made by the conference.
Well, in fact, and I appreciate that. In fact, I believe the gentlewoman from North Carolina and myself had attended a leadership meeting earlier today and had a pretty good idea about what we were going to do. But the decision really rests with this body. We all have to make decisions about what we're for, and I know the gentleman knows that. And I look forward to us reconvening tonight at the call of the chair to finish this work on 3193 directly before us. We'll be in recess till the call of the chair. No, it is.
Yes.
Rules Committee be in order. Thank you very much for coming back after the votes downstairs. We're now going to reconvene to consider a motion on H.R. 3193 with the knowledge that the testimony that was given earlier in today by Financial Services Ranking Member and Chairman, and we'll now move forward, and the Chairman will be in receipt of a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee grant H.R. 3193, the Consumer Financial Protection, Safety and Soundness Improvement Act of 2013, a structured rule. The rule provides 1 hour general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Financial Services. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule makes an order as original text for the purpose of amendment, an amendment in the nature of a substitute consisting of the text of Rules Committee Print 113-36, modified by the amendment printed in Part A of the Rules Committee report, and provides that it shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against that amendment in the nature of a substitute. The rule makes an order only those further amendments printed in Part B of the Rules Committee report. Each such amendment may be offered only in the order printed in the report, may be offered only by a member designated in the report, shall be considered as read, shall be debatable for the time specified in the report, equally divided and controlled by the proponent and an opponent, shall not be subject to amendment, shall not be subject to a demand for division of the question. The rule waives all points of order against the amendments printed in Part B of the report. The rule provides one motion to recommit with or without instructions. Section 2 of the rule provides that on any legislative day during the period from February 13, 2014 through February 24, 2014, the journal of the proceedings of the previous day shall be considered as approved, and the chair may at any time declare the House adjourned to meet at a date and time to be announced by the chair in declaring the adjournment. Section 3 of the rule provides that the Speaker may appoint members to perform the duties of the chair for the duration of the period addressed by Section 2. Finally, Section 4 of the rule waives Clause 6A of Rule 13 for a two-thirds vote to consider a report from the Committee on Rules on the same date as presented to the House with respect to any resolution reported through the legislative day of February 12, 2014, providing for consideration or disposition of a measure relating to the public debt limit.
I have the motion from the gentlewoman from North Carolina. I'll refer to myself for an explanation of the rule. Structured rule provides for 1 hour general debate, self-executes one amendment that is related to the U.S. Code citations, makes an order all amendments that comply with House rules, provides for one motion to recommit, provides for standard recess management authority, provides for same-day authority through Wednesday to expedite consideration of the rule for the debt limit. Now open for amendment or discussion. Gentlewoman from New York's recognized.
I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to put the statement of the administration policy into the record, and I'd like to read just one brief paragraph of this, if I may. The financial crisis demonstrated that one of the most glaring gaps in the nation's regulatory framework was the absence of an agency to protect consumers purchasing financial products and services. The lack of such an agency not only left consumers unprotected, but also enabled the origination of unduly risky mortgage loans, contributing directly to the crisis. The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act addressed this gap through the creation of the CPFB, the first ever independent consumer watchdog with the sole task of protecting families making financial decisions. Since its creation, the CFPB I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses with me, bear with me. Or I'll put the hand over, let Jim's got his. About halfway through the paragraph.
All right, where are we? All right.
Oh, he takes his off.
Since its creation, the CFPB has put in place safer national mortgage standards to protect borrowers, begun to implement protections governing non-mortgage products, improved disclosure requirements so that consumers are better informed, created a National Consumer Complaint Center that has handled nearly 270,000 consumer complaints to date, secured more than $3 billion in relief for nearly 10 million consumers through enforcement actions against bad actors who violated the law, and established federal oversight of important financial industries for the first time, including non-bank mortgage lenders, payday lenders, debt collectors, and credit reporting agencies. All of this activity better protects consumers while also strengthening the stability of the financial system by safeguarding against the distribution of unduly risky consumer financial products.
Thank you, Mr. McGovern. And I also have an amendment. I do
Without
have
objection, I'll
unanimous
be entered to
consent.
the record. Thank you very much.
I have an amendment to the rule, which will surprise no one. I live in hope. I move the committee grant H.R. 3193 an open rule so that all members have the opportunity to offer amendments on the floor.
You've now heard the amendment by the gentlewoman from New York. Further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
Roll call, please, Mr. Chair.
Roll call requested.
Ms. Fox.
By the way, the vote was no, and the gentlewoman now requests a vote.
Ms. Fox.
No.
Ms. Fox, no. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Cole. Mr. Woodall. No. Mr. Woodall, no. Mr. Nugent. No. Mr. Nugent, no. Mr. Webster. Mr. Webster, no. Ms. Ross-Leitonen. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess, no. Ms. Slaughter.
Aye.
Ms. Slaughter, aye. Mr. McGovern.
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Mr. Hastings. Aye. Mr. Hastings, aye. Mr. Polis. Aye. Mr. Polis, aye. Mr. Chairman.
No.
Mr. Chairman, no.
Clerk will report the total.
4 yeas, 6 nays.
The amendment is not agreed to. Not agreed to. Further amendment or discussion? Seeing none, the vote will now be on the motion from gentlewoman from Grandfather Community, North Carolina. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Roll call, please.
Roll call request.
Ms. Fox. Aye. Ms. Fox, aye. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Cole. Mr. Woodall. Aye. Mr. Woodall, aye. Mr. Nugent. Aye. Mr. Nugent, aye. Mr. Webster. Aye. Mr. Webster, aye. Ms. Ross-Leitonen. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess, aye. Ms. Slaughter.
No.
Ms. Slaughter, no. Mr. McGovern.
No.
Mr. McGovern, no. Mr. Hastings. No. Mr. Hastings, no. Mr. Polis. No. Mr. Polis, no. Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, aye.
Mr. Chairman.
One moment, please. Clerk will report the total.
6 yeas, 4 nays.
The motion is agreed to. Gentlewoman from New York is recognized.
May I ask when we can expect to see some text on the agreement for the debt limit?
Thank you very much. Let me first, if I can, announce that I will be handling this for the Republicans.
And Mr. Polis will be.
And Mr. Polis will be handling this for the minority. Now the gentlewoman is asking a question about the text. Obviously, what has occurred is the Republican conference met earlier this evening at 5:30 p.m. I was up here, other members of this committee were up here, and I have not received a full briefing of that. I am aware, however, that a decision is being made, and I would like to announce that, as the gentlewoman saw in the rule, page 2, that we have made provisions, arrangements for a piece of legislation that might be available, and we've put that in there.
When do you think the text will be available?
Well, as soon as the decision's made.
So the decision's not yet made on
You know what?
the text is of this?
Let me go back on this.
Okay.
I was up here, and I'm sorry that during the hearing.
Well, I know they made decision because the press is asking all of us.
Well, you know what? We probably asked Fox News, and they'll
Right.
probably know the
Well,
answer.
I
I
would,
just don't know that. Well, what I would tell you is, as soon as a
failing not knowing
decision,
when the text is going to be made, this will not be on the floor tomorrow, then I assume.
I would assume that right now, that what we're doing is giving same-day authority, as was alluded to.
Right.
It was right here.
Understand that.
And that we know that we're trying to comply with a request, and we've known this, it's not a new request, for your caucus to be able to go to its retreat. And we intend to do everything we can to make that. Today is Monday, tomorrow's Tuesday, and we want to be out by around noon on Wednesday is what we're aiming at.
Well, the question was, do you think this I'm assuming that we don't have the text, that this will not come up tomorrow?
What's going to happen is that I'm going to leave here in just a few minutes, and I'm going to walk downstairs, and I'm going to go see Speaker Boehner, and I will be very pleased to, as soon as I have a good idea of what we're doing, then I'll be glad to let, and I'll call you.
All right,
I got your phone number.
All right.
And I'll call you and let you
Well,
know.
we're very anxious to know because this is a matter of great importance to us.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's only fair game, too. And so as soon as I know anything, I promise to call you.
But we will not expect it. Well, you just simply don't know when it's coming up.
What I said
right?
is I'd give you a call.
Or when the text will be available. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you very much. Are there further questions from the committee? Seeing none, I want to thank the committee for their assistance and work tonight, and to the staff that helped us to so favorably get our work done today. And I'd like to thank Mr. Halpern, if I can, for his professional demeanor in working through these difficult issues and helping the committee prepare itself for tomorrow.
We like him.
And we do like him.
Yeah.
We've now finished our work for the day.